Hello, today's video is on the new Downt album called Underlight and Aftertime. So the band Downt is comprised of three members. There is Yui Togashi on vocals and guitar, Takaki Kawai is on the bass, and their drummer is named tenor Ken Roberts. So while I think you could easily class the band as just an indie rock band, they really are submerged in a lot of genres such as like math rock, sort of shoegaze, Midwest emo, garage rock, and also punk rock. And I believe they've been around for about 3 years officially now, so they're still pretty new on the scene, and they have released a few projects prior to this one as well. So because their influences span all kinds of genres, I would really say that they're like the perfect band for someone who is a fan of, like, I would say Kinoko Teikoku, I would say Mass of the Fermenting Dregs, I would say Anorak, and I would also say Kudaranai Jinichi. As for maybe more Western bands, I would say if you're a fan of maybe American football, or the more math rock side of Black Midi, or kind of the more punk rock side of like Savages, you would probably like them as well. You would also probably like them if you do like music from Foals, but more so their like first album, maybe second album sorts of material, since those are more math rock focused. This album came out, I believe, in March of this year, so it's been out for a while, and I've only been listening to it for about the past 2 months. This album is about 40 minutes long, and on my first listen, I was about halfway through it, and I wasn't really getting hooked by anything in particular. And then I hit that second half, and that's when it all kind of clicked for me. And since then, I've just really come around to this album, and I've come back to it 15 or 20 times in preparation for this review. I really do like it. And I want to go over first what I like about this album. So first off, I think they've just got really fantastic energy on this album, which isn't really surprising considering a lot of their music is leaning towards more punk sounds, which inherently is just a very energetic and frantic sort of sound. And then on top of that, I also just like a lot of the influences that they're sort of tapping into with their sound. In particular, I think the songs Whale and Uyo, which means wandering, are really reminding me of songs by Kinoko Teikoku. Not so much singing-wise, but for sure instrumentally. There's just something there that just really harkens back to their sort of early/midway point section of their career. I think the song on this album called Underdrive is quite literally a song from a Mass of the Fermenting Dregs album called 1960. It sounds almost one for one. So I almost think that's homage because of how similar it sounds guitar-wise, bass-wise, and percussion-wise. It's very strange that it is so close. So close. And so another thing that I noticed about this album is that sort of throughout it, Yui Togashi mentions water a lot and the act of like pouring it and splashing it fairly often. And I really feel like those lyrics and sort of themes work their way into the way she sings as well. So the very last song is called Jusangatsu, and in that song, her vocal delivery is almost exactly like water like pouring into like another container and then pouring into another one, and her like words just kind of like drip into the following sentence and back and forth and back and forth, and I just thought that was really cool. So I suppose another thing I should mention is just how much I enjoy Yui Togashi's delivery on this album too. I just think it's fantastic just kind of everywhere. So I feel like some songs are a little underdeveloped. To be fair, I think the band is still kind of working out their kinks since they are still fairly new. So I don't think this is really any kind of like negative takeaway that I got from this album, just something I should kind of mention. And also in some songs, it is kind of hard to actually hear Togashi. So there's a song called YDA 027, and that song's probably the worst offender of this. I get that the vocals suit kind of the vibe of like the song, but I just don't know what she's saying, frankly. There is another song in the latter half of the album called Rengoku EX. And that also kind of has the same issue too, though I do really like that song. So now I've talked about what I did like and what I didn't like. So now let's talk about what wowed me. Boom, bonus surprise category. Pop, 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 pop. First and foremost, easily, Togashi is a fantastic singer, but also fantastic guitarist. So I haven't mentioned that yet in this review, but she's a fantastic guitarist, especially because she's singing a lot at the same time too. I don't know how she does it. It's honestly amazing. However, because she is such a good guitarist and her melodies are just so complicated, this does kind of come at the cost of her vocals not being too strong, just because she's like way too focused on playing very complex math rock melodies. So there's kind of a trade-off there, but I'm okay with what we got. I still think it sounds fantastic. I was also really impressed with Robert as a drummer. I think he's killing it on this whole album. That very first song called Underdrive He sounds fantastic there. He is on time. He is on beat. He is like just on it throughout this whole album. So good job to him as well. So now let's talk about some of my favorite songs. I do have a pretty good handful of them, and kind of like I alluded to earlier, they are primarily on the back half of the album. So the first I want to talk about is that song Rengoku EX, which means purgatory, and then EX for whatever reason. I really like the energy there, and then it also kind of sounds to me like a classic like 90s Modest Mouse song in a way, and I would maybe say that's because of the bass. Much like 90s Modest Mouse, a lot of their songs were very bass heavy because Eric Judy was just a beast. He is that dude. And so for that reason, I really like this song. But I would also definitely say that all three members are just fantastic on the song too. So there's another song on this album called Mizu ni Naru. At first, this was my favorite song on the album. The title means to become water, or becoming water, or I become water, however you kind of want to contextualize the translation. Once again, I think it's got this really just bouncy bass. I also love the guitar work on this song, and in particular, Togashi just has a really engaging singing cadence on this song that is just addictive. Love this song. So like I said, at first I thought this was my favorite on the album, but that will change with the next one I want to talk about, which is called 111511. So this probably has one of my favorite guitar licks of like all time. I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's groovy, it's kind of dancey, it's really just infectious in general. I just really like it. I heard this song and I just went, yo! I had like a stank face on. Like, it was just so good, and I was like so surprised, especially with how late in the track list it comes on. I was kind of not quite falling asleep, but I was kind of losing interest. Not so much after Mizu ni Naru, but oh my god, this song just kicks ass in like every way. That main guitar melody is just divine. I don't know how Yui came up with that. It's so good. I just think that the song has a really nice flow and progression to it. I think it finishes off very strongly as well. This damn thing has been stuck in my head since I heard this song. I listen to it almost every day, or like almost every other day. It's crazy. And also, I just really like the lyrics too. It's got this story to it with Yui talking about how she used to like joke with someone as a kid about being able to like swim in the sky, and then maybe due to some outside factors, or I guess actions of her own, they kind of lost touch, right? And so luckily I was actually able to find lyrics for this song, so I was able to translate them, and I'd like to go over them now. So I have a bit of the verses here and the chorus, so here we go. So it starts off with, your expectations of someone's expectations. What is it that I should protect? How many things have I lost because of my spoiled heart up until now? And then after that, she says that she'll go to that rooftop again and wishes that she could be there with that person again. And then the final verse slash verses, which has a slight variation to it, which I'll have here at the end. So that starts, I look down on the city. Loneliness and love coexist on two sides of the same coin. In someone else's image, you will continue to live. That's how the second to last verse ends. And then the final, instead of in someone else's image, you will continue to live, she says, in someone else's image, I will continue to live. So she's kind of talking about how we've now gone our two separate ways, and now you'll go do your thing and I'll go do my thing, and that's just kind of the end of it. While she would like to kind of rebuild this relationship, she also realizes that it's just kind of over, and sometimes you can't rebuild stuff like this, and that's okay. I think that's a very mature sentiment to include on an album like this. So nice, super cool. So the last song I want to talk about is that one called Ju Sangatsu. This song is cool for a few reasons. One, it's the 13th month, right? Well, guess what? It comes at the end of the album. Like, it's like an extra like month on the end, sort of. Okay. So this song is about Yui and the other person, the lover, the companion, the whatever, having a special secret month for just her and that other person. So I was also able to find lyrics for this song too, so I will read that out now. So it starts off with, no one knows, no one notices. Nothing about it remains in people's heads. If we wake up tomorrow, let's have some coffee. It's just us who get to have this 13th month. I just thought that this had a really cute sentiment too, and it's just lovely and it's cute. And the rest of the song is also really interesting, really well written. It's kind of more the same of like this. So I would say that this song and others really cemented Yui as just a really good songwriter in my opinion. So I think that was really well done. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about the album. This came out on vinyl. I need this on vinyl. I need to get it. I am going to Japan in a few months. I will be getting this. I don't care what I have to do, who I need to hurt, who I need to hunt or track down. I'm gonna get this on vinyl. I don't care. It's gonna happen. But besides that, I really feel like they're really starting to carve out a lane for themselves as they cement their sound with work like this album. It's definitely really enjoyable, and it's for sure something that I'll be coming back around to pretty often, as I already have been. While I don't love every song on the album, there are what I would say are maybe a good strong 3 to 5 songs that I'm pretty infatuated with, honestly. And I think that's mainly because the lyrics on those songs are just thought provoking and interesting. And I just like Yui's vocals on them and her delivery, as I've said. It's just a really well rounded album, I think. So, with that said, I would rate this an 8 out of 10. I was originally feeling a 7 out of 10, but then as I got more into the lyrical side of it, I was like, oh, like this is also really well written too. So it did bump it up to that 8 for me. So as I've already covered, there's nothing I generally dislike. My only wish is that there were more really good songs. Every song on here is at the very least good. There are no bad songs in the slightest, but I just wish that there were more really good, great songs on the album. As I've said, there's really a only debatable 3 to 5. So with as long as this album is, I would have liked to have seen that maybe jump up to like 7 or 8. That probably would have gone it to a 9 for me. In general, I feel like this album is just kind of popped up by the heavy hitting songs. In general, though, I think this is a fantastic showing from a new kind of band. I'm super into it, and I'm looking forward to whatever they come out with next. And hopefully I can see them in Japan soon, because I think a live show for some of these songs would be really, really cool. Yeah, that is the review. Thank you for watching. Listen to this album. It's super cool. And I also think you should listen to their prior work as well. Yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.